Oh my goodness, this is breaking news from the UK. Just when I thought nothing worse could happen to the UK, this bombshell just landed. And it is a way, way bigger story than people realize. So we're going to talk about it. And this, of course, relates to the fact that King Charles has now redefined his role as now being the defender of multi-faiths or all faiths. We're going to talk about it in this episode because it's more ridiculous than it even sounds already. And a few months ago, I made a video showing my predictions of what's going to happen to the UK as it slowly becomes an Islamic majority country. And I said that the British monarchy will either have to completely dissolve or gradually convert to Islam. Now, I thought we were years off of that taking place, but just months after that video, we are here today, and this is coming true. Let's watch this video and talk about it.
We got to talk about this because this is a serious Wally. It's not a grab, but King Charles III has made a very big change to the way the monarchy works and what the king's role is, and I think this is disgraceful. He has changed his role from being the defender of the faith, i.e. the Anglican Church of England, to become the guy who protects faith, quote, within the multi-faith nation. Now, it is an entirely new role.
Like, first of all, this is utter nonsense. How do you even do that, right? If the jihadis are coming to slaughter the Christians, like, how are you defending both at the same time? Like, none of this makes sense, right? Christ says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. None come to the Father except through me. How do you reconcile that with like everything else, right? You're talking about completely different worldviews and you're trying to defend all of them. Like, what if you have a small cult of faith rise up in the UK where they say, right, we're going to start sacrificing babies on a full moon and we're a faith. Does that mean he has to defend them as well? Utter rubbish. This is like saying that you're a vegetarian and a carnivore at the same time. Something's got to give. And in this case, trust me, it will be Islam because they're the ones willing to actually cut people's heads off. And if there's one thing that monarchs in the UK and all of Europe are scared of, it's having their heads cut off. So this is utter self-preservation. We're going to talk about it more in just a second. Let's go.
That Caleb and Caroline Caleb, I think, entirely undercuts centuries of English history, also undercuts, frankly, the entire purpose of the monarch.
Well, the Church of England is rather important to the royal family, is it not? And he's meant to be was the defender of the faith. He is at the top of the tree of the Church of England. How can you be in that position and then say, well, it is now my role to defend all faiths? Surely the faith that you believe in and the one that you are meant to represent is the faith. And the king is basically taking the point of view that, well, you know, all faiths are equal. I hate to break it to him that they're not, and the one that he's allegedly involved in is the one that he ought to be defending. But it is cultural rot. I mean, if even the king cannot identify his country's official religion and defend that as the country's official religion, what hope has the UK?
We have a real Caroline, it's a massive disillusion of the English identity.
It's a capitulation to what has become the Islamification of that society. For someone whose role was defender of the faith, the supreme governor of the Church of England, to, I would say, abdicate on his responsibility here. I don't think that's putting too fine a point of it, but we've seen this happening. I think the last time I was on Outsiders was around Easter, and he didn't deliver an Easter message, but instead delivered one for Ramadan and had done that for the last couple of years. So we've seen this move coming.
Yes, we have seen this move coming. Now, listen, the UK has a complicated history, and if you don't understand this, let me take like 10 seconds to explain why it is that the head of the Church of England is also the king. So traditionally, in the old model, the early church, right, you have the monarch or the emperor, and then you have the patriarchs, right, the archbishop, and basically what happens is they hold each other to accountability, right? So the patriarch is a citizen of the empire, but the head of the state, right, the king or the emperor, is also subject to the commandments of Christianity and to confess sins and all those kinds of things. And they kind of hold each other to account. Now, King Henry VIII, right, wanted to divorce his wife. And he went on to divorce and remarry a bunch of times and behead his wives and all this kind of stuff. There's a whole nursery rhyme about it. But of course, that wasn't allowed, right? You can just divorce people willy-nilly. Marriage was a sacred sacrament of the church. And so because the church in Rome wouldn't allow him to do that, he said, well, screw you guys. I'm going to divorce from you, create my own church, and I'm going to consolidate both of these positions into one role by simultaneously being the head of the state and being the head of the church. Welcome to the Church of England, right? So this is how the Church of England was created. Now, you would have thought that as a defender of Christianity in England, at a time today where there has been no greater need for defense of Christianity in centuries than exactly right now, from the ethnic replacement of your people, the jihad on your people, the sexual exploitation, rape and pillaging of your people, that now would be exactly the right time to kick into overdrive and wake up that deep-seated role as defender of the faith and do your job. But instead, he's decided that actually, in order to preserve himself, not the faith, right? He's looking to preserve himself, not Christ, the church, or anything else. He's shifting the definition as he comes to realize that the future of the UK is looking more and more Islamic, thanks to policies that the British government is even doing, right? And so because the UK is forecast to have a minority white population by 2063, where many cities across the UK are already 40%, 30% Islamic, in order to safeguard the royal family into the future, protect their own wealth and position and status, he is moving in the direction of first becoming a defender of multi-faiths until eventually it'll only be the dominance of one faith, Islam, in the country, at which point they can convert the royal families, becoming an Islamic royal family. That's what's happening. That's the prediction I made months ago in a video, and it's happening now. Now, what's crazy about this is if you watch the video of him being, coronated and taking the oath as both the King of England and the defender of the church, as the head of the church, you start to realize that he's doing things that would utterly mean the abdication of his role. Like, he's breaking his oath that he himself took as he was being coronated. So if you break that oath, surely that means you shouldn't be king anymore, right? And ever since taking power, he has done basically nothing to promote Christianity. He's doing so much to promote Islam and celebrate Ramadan. You don't do this as a Christian. As a Christian, you don't even light incense in like a Buddhist temple or anything like that. You don't participate in other religions. You just don't do this. So you don't go into mosques and sit on the floor and eat dates and participate in the prayers or say any of this nonsense. You just don't do it. Again, it's like calling yourself a vegetarian while eating steak. Choose one, right? You can't be the defender of all faiths. This is nonsense, postmodern slop. You can't do that. And what's sad about all of this, as I said earlier, is that there hasn't been a greater time to defend Christianity than exactly now, especially in the UK. This is a time for the king to come out swinging and say, right, I am in power. I have all the reins of power in my hand. The Houses of Parliament, that's my government. The police, the military, they swear an oath to me. I'm meant to be a defender of the church. I'm meant to be a defender of Christianity in this country, right? Instead of doing that, right, which is what all of us wish we could do as Christians, right? Defend the church, defend Christians, stop these churches being set on fire, stop the building of all these new mosques, stop these mosques getting all this government funding, stop Islamism taking root in the country and replacing people and enforcing Sharia law and speech codes and blasphemy laws against Allah and Islamophobia bills and all this kind of stuff. Instead of doing that, right, he could actually stop this. He's in the perfect position to do this. This is why he has his position. He's meant to be the guy to defend the country against Islam. He is. He is, not YouTubers like me, although I'll do it until the day I die. Him. He's the guy, right? He actually has the actual power, the government power, the reins of power to do this. That's his job. That's his job. to stop the grooming gangs. Like once upon a time when you were dealing with like, the Viking raiders who would rape and pillage, right? You have that today with the grooming gangs, the Islamic grooming gangs. He's that guy to stop it. That's why we all like kind of support the royal family and vote for his government and participate in this whole British system in the UK. That's quite literally his job. People have no idea just how much King Charles is failing. He has the blood and trauma of sexual violence on his hands during his reign. Just think about this for a minute. And at this particularly urgent time, where we need a defender of the faith very high up in power to do this job, he's decided to jump ship. Right? Instead of being a soldier for Christ, right? He's turned into just an utter wimp for Christ and is now batting for the other team. This is nonsense. This is utter nonsense. This is a way bigger deal than people realize. Way bigger deal. I just can't believe that this is happening now, within a few months of me making that prediction video. Because I honestly thought we were years away from this. Honestly, shocking. Shocking. Please send this video to someone else who you think will get it. King Charles could do much better. Way better than this. Like I said, like he's got all the reins of power in his hand. He is the absolute supreme leader of the UK. Right? All the military, the navy, the police, the border force, they all bear the emblem, like the royal seal. If he wanted to, within just like 5 or 10 seconds, he could give the order, and the entire system, the entire hierarchy of power in the UK would snap into focus and deal with the problems such as the open borders policy at the British Channel, the deportation of these illegals, the shutting down and deportation of these radicalization camps, right? Like he could do so much in his position, right? All the prisons across the UK that have become radicalization camps for Islamists. Everything, you name it. Like he could be helping like to restore all these churches that have been burnt down and like creating a task force to like track down who these people are, to fund greater education of Christianity in the schools and the streets, producing movies, documentaries. So much. But instead, what is he doing? Like twiddling his thumbs, trying to appease the Muslims? What, you think they're going to care about you because you paid more money for them to build more mosques? You think that's going to stop your head being cut off eventually? Like in a hypothetical scenario in the future? They don't care. If you're not Muslim, they don't care. And then once you become Muslim, then you're just you're their puppet. My goodness. And like you have to think about this stuff deeply. You can't just like click away, oh, right, what's the next breaking news story? This is just a flash in the pan. We are witnessing history unfold, like terrible history unfold in front of us. And I just wish people got it. I wish people saw just how bad this is. To think that there is like literally swarms of people in the UK who are screaming they're screaming at a brick wall, like nothing's happening. Whether that be like Tommy Robinson or other people in the UK who are just trying to sound the alarm on Islam and the borders and mass migration, the grooming gangs, and like all the problems, which really has to do with a kind of a kind of spiritual war, you could say, right? These are ultimately worldviews. These are different belief systems now clashing out. The jihadis are waging their holy war on the West. If only we had a guy in power who is meant to be the defender of the faith, who has military power, who has all like the different authorities in the UK consolidated under his reign. If only there was a position like that where we could actually defend ourselves against imminent civilizational threat. If only we had someone like that. Oh, wait, we do. He's called the King of England. What is this nonsense? What is this nonsense? Like, and is his son going to be any better? I don't know. Not likely. These people abandoned the true faith a long time ago. That's what it seems like. My goodness. We need someone like Stephen the Great again. Right? Stephen the Great. Look him up. I'll put an icon of him here. I'll put a link down below. Look him up. Because what this does, under the guise of like, oh, I'm just trying to be nice, I'm just trying to be inclusive, right? You know, it's good to be nice to everyone. What this does is it just makes the problem worse for the next generation. And then it'll get even worse. And then it will snap. And then it will be bloody and violent. The best way you can prevent future bloodshed is by just keeping order now. Stopping things from getting worse now. I'll end my rant now. Thank you for listening. I hope that wasn't too much for you. But people need to like say it how it is. And this is a huge, huge story. But yeah, please send this video to someone you know. Give it a thumbs up, hype it, comment down below, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Check out the merch link and I'll speak to you in the next one. God bless.